Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. Greg Chris, joined by Frank Fear. Frank, welcome into the show. We got what we think is going to be another fantastic show tonight, man. We can't wait for this one.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what. Shaun's become a good friend, and we both enjoy listening to prior to the snap. That just do a Google search, iHeartRadio, all over the place. It's great. About an hour, 15, 20 minutes, just like ours each week. Plenty of excitement, a lot of focus on football, and Shaun is first rate.
Yep, no question about it. Me and him had a long exchange the other day, and so enjoyed it. But before we get him on here, I do want to say too, Frank, talking about listening to his podcast prior to the snap, I have come to the conclusion that I want to marry his co-host, and I would like for her to while I'm taking out the garbage, I want her to cuss me, and while she's describing the 4-3 cover two defense all at the same time. I think that'd be a turn on.
There you go. Cassie is I think the word that Shaun uses is aggressive.
Aggressive.
But I think I read that.
So
But
we're driving.
hey, it's chemistry, isn't it? It's
That's
always
right. Oh
chemistry,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they blend together really well, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
just it's exciting. Let's put it that way.
My wife and I were driving to Charleston the other day, and I turned on the show and was listening to him. And my wife don't pay much attention to that kind of thing when it's on the radio. She don't listen to talk shows like I do. But anyway, it did. Cassie caught her attention, and she looked at me and said, "That turns you on, don't it?" I said, there's something about a woman talking about football and saying the F bomb all at the same time. I said that's definite turn on for sure. So,
That's fantastic.
yeah, really enjoyable. I enjoy listening to them. Great podcast. So it'll be a good show tonight. And of course, Mickey's going to join us here after a moment. And we got big win Saturday, and
Oh
we're
boy.
still riding high on that one. Great birthday gift right there. Man, where in the world has that team been all season?
Boy, I tell you what, Greg, doesn't get any better than this. And let's put at the top of that list your son
Yeah.
debuting down at Winthrop and
Yep.
getting a win. I
Yep.
think it was the first game they beat Queens of
Yep.
Charlotte. I think it was the first game on that marathon
Yep.
ESPN first day of the season.
Yep.
Hey, and it's not just a win over Houston. We'll talk about the Colorado game in a few minutes, but women's soccer, I've got the numbers here. They're
Yep.
13-3-3,
Yep.
8-0-3 in the Big 12. Unfortunately, lost the quarterfinal game to Kansas, but they're going to make some noise in the NCAA
Yep.
tournament. The men are 12-3-2, 7-2 in the Sun Belt, and on Sunday they play Old Dominion for the Sun Belt Championship. And we had Jen Greeny on last year, taking over the volleyball team. They
Yeah.
were 8-21 the first year. She's got them at 14-8. And still issues in the Big 12, but 14-8 is a lot better than 8-21. I'll
Oh
tell you.
yeah. Yeah.
So congrats to Jen Greeny. And then the men and women basketball, the Mountaineers opened up with wins at home. And for those of you who follow Sports Illustrated, Skylar Callahan this week had a very interesting article. And basically, he just drew from the ESPN Power Index and basically said, can you believe this? Based on the Power Index, the prediction is the Mountaineers are going to go 25-5.
Yeah.
Get this, 25-5 and not lose at home.
Yeah. I'll take
He's
it.
saying, I don't think it's going to happen, he said, but boy, it's nice because usually it's the other way around. So
Yeah.
a lot. And we got Colorado coming up, we'll talk about later. All exciting stuff, positive stuff.
Yep, sure is. And like I said, the soccer teams both doing well, and basketball to a good start. And we're in the basketball season already. Hard to believe. And we've been hearing a lot about the talent that Coach Hodge is bringing in on that basketball team, and very highly touted recruits he's brought in out of the portal for the most part. But again, you look at our situation last year. Just took time. It takes time to gel, man, and they gotta get them together and gel, and much like the football team. And I hope that football team that we're seeing the end product of the chemistry process. Because I'll tell you what, they looked awful good Saturday. Colorado coming in, that's another game that they have a good shot at winning, I feel. Colorado's a good football team, athletic. I don't think they're quite as good as they were last year. They're not nearly as talented, obviously, but they're very athletic and they're big. Their line is big. I was looking at some of the numbers on their linemen. Big guys up front. But everybody has big guys, and I think if we keep playing like we did Saturday, I think we'll take care of business there.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what. I'm going to get out of here so Mickey
Yep.
can come in, but boy, I'm with you on that, Greg.
Yep. Well, let's bring Mickey in, chat with him a second, and we'll get Shaun in here. Hello, Mickey.
Hey, Greg. How you doing, my friend?
Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you.
Hey.
And, looks like you recovered well from our Morgantown trip and heading in the right direction.
I did. It took me a week or so, but getting together with those buddies of mine from the late '60s and the Bobby Bowden era, that's can be tough on an old body. I like myself in more ways than one, but we had a great time up there week before last. And how about them Mirrors last weekend, though, baby?
I'm telling you
I
what.
tell you, bringing it all together. The cream is rising to the top. And I tell you, it did my heart good to see that my projection was totally inaccurate.
Yeah.
And you got a winner last week, didn't you, my friend?
Well, yeah, and like I keep saying, it's like I'm not going to say what I normally say, but it's like being the tallest guy in a short guy contest. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I'll take the win. But I didn't expect us to win. I was hopeful that we would just compete and be in the game and have a chance. But I tell you what, that was just an all around good effort. I mean, in all phases of the game, we played pretty well, and it just seemed like it all just came together at the right time.
Certainly did. I tell you, Scotty had one heck of a game, and I love some of those accounts that I read during the last 3 plays of the game. And Rich Rod was talking to him about, now make sure you get the snap from the center, because it was 3 kneel down plays.
Right.
And Rich Rod saying, make sure you get the snap, make sure you got your hands open, make sure you get your knee on the ground. Scotty looked at him and said, Coach, I got this. He said, you're making way, way too much out of this. I think maybe he is. Even though he's a freshman, he's certainly starting to play with a lot of experience. So looking for great things out of him the rest of this season, and hopefully we can hang on to him the next 3 years.
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I said. Hopefully we can keep him around for a few more years, and that would be something that I know Shaun will be talking about as well when we get him on. But he showed some real promise there, and Mickey, you go ahead and donate a couple meal, and we'll keep him up there for a year or two.
Hey, there you go. Be more than happy to do that.
All right, let's enough of this banter. Let's get our guest on. For those of you who don't know, you should know. This is Shaun Pryor. There he is, and he hosts a great podcast. You need to check it out, called Prior to the Snap. Shaun, welcome to the show, and that's not all he does. I mean, he's done a ton of stuff over his career, and a great backstory as well. And we're going to let him do that storytelling. But welcome to the show, buddy. Good to see you.
I appreciate the heck out of you guys. Y'all put up with me. I am so loud, so crazy. And if I can real quick, Cassie, it is when she got on that rant and she started to break down the 3-5-3 defense and all that. I said, boy, somebody out there right now, we started talking about Maryland Power High and all that. I said, boy, people ain't going to believe this woman is sitting here in this studio having this conversation with me right now. It is unreal. One more thing. If you can see that, as you know, I used to be a host for the Oklahoma City Dodgers, and every time they get a ring, so do we. So we were talking about baseball and the Dodgers, and yep, that is a World Series ring right there. I had to run and get it because we were talking about it. So
awesome, fantastic, man. That's great.
Yes.
Congratulations. Yeah, we we're listening to the podcast. And like I said, my wife don't pay a lot of attention to those shows, podcasts. I listen to talk shows all the time. She don't. She just blocks them out, gets on her phone. But when Cassie started talking, she just looked over at me and said, "That turns you on, don't it?" I said, yeah. I said, "There's
He's
something
the
about a
best.
woman describing the 3-3-5 and saying F all the time." I said, "Yeah, something about that I like. I enjoy that."
It's wild, man. I'm thankful. I am thankful. And I'm thankful to you guys, seriously, for you guys letting me be on. I'm going to tell you all I am going to have a West Virginia rant at some point here today. Man. In a good way. In a good way.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. And you cover. Of course, you're out in the western part of the country, but you play. And I know the teams you cover moved to the SEC more or less, but you still follow the Big 12 and you still watch closely what's going on. And we had a discussion as well about the NIL and the portal and the way things are headed right now. And you look at Texas Tech, what they're doing, and what they've done with their program. And man, I tell you what, it's a Wild West shootout right now, and I don't know what's going to happen. Do you have any any inkling? What's your feelings about how this is all going to play out and end up down the road?
Well, man, this is so loaded. NIL, I'm learning, is a double-edged sword. It is awesome. I've talked numerous times, even on this very illustrious program, about how NIL was meant to be a way for a guy to be able to not have to eat ramen all the time, but to be able to go out and have a sandwich, or to be able to put a gas in his Toyota Camry that he brought from the house.
Yeah.
And somehow, some way, big money got into it, and I feel like, as many times as I've called it Pandora's box, right, that we cracked it open just a little bit. The NCAA said, "Hey, boys, have a look at this. Come on over here. It's a show." And we got curious, and they opened it up, and we looked inside, and look at us now. Texas Tech, my first thought is immediately women's softball, right? I hate that I can't remember her name off the top of my head because I just called her the Golden Arm. My Texas Longhorns and the Golden Arm, and I believe she blew out her hamstring or something like that, or an ACL toward the end. But they have proven that they are not afraid to spend money to get the best players. And that's what it's going to take. In researching, I have always been the guy. I've been on your program a few times, and I never have notes. Everything is in my head. I have an insane amount of sports memorized. And I realized something when we first talked about me coming on. I was like, yeah, Big 12. All right, let's talk about. And I froze, and I said, the last time I was on, we were talking about the SEC and the Big 12 and the Big 10 and how it felt like the Big 12 was getting pushed out. And part of me didn't feel, I was like, maybe that's not true. That's not that bad. I had a realization, gentlemen. I sat down and I thought to myself, when is the last time I heard something about the Big 12 besides someone bagging on Oklahoma State on local media? And so I started calling my friends. I've been blessed that I've been in media since 2016 here. So I called a buddy. He's a sports director. I said, hey, man, I said, are you talking about the Big 12? And he goes, yeah, that Oklahoma State's bad. And I mentioned Texas Tech. And I said, well, what else? And he's like, well, it's all about SEC. And the more I started talking to other people, I said, oh, my gosh, these guys were right. I'm sitting in the middle of it. I couldn't even see it. I was blind to it. The Big 12 is just getting shoved out.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. So I feel that I owe you guys and all your listeners an apology that I did not notice. I will also say this, and this is just kind of a sidebar. What Houston showed this weekend in that stadium and that turnout, what Baylor brought to homecoming here, was that this past game or the game before? I don't even remember. These stadiums that don't have bodies in them, that's a bad look, man. That's a bad look. The Big 12 needs you to come, show out, and support. And I want to say something real quick, if you guys don't mind, real fast, about West Virginia. In my research, I type in West Virginia into YouTube, and I learned something. Anybody within sound of my voice, if you don't listen to anything else I say, please hear this. I came across this like vignette, if you will. It's just a few minutes long about the coal rush, the blackout, the coal rush night at West Virginia. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Folks, you would have thought that ninjas had cut onions as I got teary-eyed watching these coal miners talk about what it means to them. I want to say, I don't know if it was a quarterback, I don't know who it was that rolled the elevator down. He's down there in like this first layer of like the mine, and he's learning and he's absorbing all of this and the what and the why. Folks, don't ever say that tradition and culture and fan engagement is dead in West Virginia, because I'm telling you right now, I am a Longhorn through and through. But by God, I was repping me some West Virginia here the other day. I said, you boy, I said, Rich Rod got him tuned up right. Rich Rod got him. That dude don't care if he's on his fifth string quarterback. He said, Fox, he said, you better get out there. He said, what does the Fox say? Ooh, he scooted them legs, man. Y'all got something cooking down there, I guarantee. And I tell you what, for guys that buy in, because the last time I was on here, I was talking to you guys about it looked like a actual mass exodus out of West Virginia with guys bailing out into the portal like crazy. I didn't know how y'all was going to do it. Y'all are going to have some dogs come back, I guarantee, because these cats, them same cats that played against Houston, when them cats show that buy-in, man, and y'all start building, man, y'all going to be some nasty in these next couple of years.
That sounds like a great plan to me. And you mentioned Houston. One of the things that I noticed as soon as it came on TV, the first thing I noticed was the stands. And I thought, if WVU were 7-1 playing a home game, I guarantee you the place would be sold out. And I saw that, and I'm like, what in the heck's going on? These guys are 22nd in the country, 7-1, and there was just empty bleachers everywhere, and I couldn't believe it. I was shocked at that. And but yeah, here, and you mentioned the no talk about the Big 12. Like I said, I'm a junkie on these talk shows and listen to them all the time. And the first rankings came out today, this morning or last night, and all they talked about today was the ACC. And not in a good way. The fact that, there's no way the ACC is going to get 3 teams in. So this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen. They were talking about Miami and, a couple of other Georgia Tech. And they said, there's no way they're going to get 3 teams in. And then one guy, he did mention Texas Tech and the Big 12 and said, the Big 12, there's not much talk. And he said, nothing against the Big 12. That was the way he opened it up. It right there shows you when they open up by saying nothing against the Big 12, they got something to say against the Big 12.
Yep.
And that's right now, they're not no positive talk about it. Actually, there's no talk, period. They're not even mentioning them. And, and I've said this over and over, and I don't know what your take is, and I don't know how much attention you pay. Frank and I and Mickey, we've talked about this. The fact that, when you look at the Big 12, you got a couple, what I think are really good teams, BYU, Texas Tech, and then you got some other good teams. And it really don't fall off until you get to the bottom 1 or 2. When you go to these other conferences, you have really good teams at the top, 2, 3, maybe 4, and then pretty garbage after that, and they never talk about that. And the Big 12 to me is so balanced. And I mean, I know there's some bad teams in the Big 12. I've watched teams play all year, but it just seems like there's so much balance in the Big 12, and that may hurt them in the end, because people don't look at it as being a positive. They look at it as being a weak conference because, nobody stands out. But I think it's just the fact that they're from top to bottom, it's pretty well balanced out conference.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. I tell you, man, I'm trying not to go on a rant. I think a lot of this, I think that a lot of this is about what's on the side of the helmet. I don't want to upset our Notre Dame friends, but that's just like looking at Notre Dame in the list yesterday. And I said, what are you doing here? What exactly? Why are you here? Is it because it says Notre Dame on your helmet? Is that why? Booger McFarland, him trying to make a justification? No. There is too much politics in my sports, and I don't like it. There is too much of this. You know what? I remember the BCS and them saying strength of schedule does not factor into the BCS. Yet now I have to listen to people as they tell me about the playoff and how, well, this is a good loss. Well, this is a bad loss. Well, this is, stop this. No, it doesn't. It makes no sense. Let me also say this, man. I love the phrase knife fight in a phone booth, right? That is the Big 12. And I don't want to toss blame on the TCU. TCU, I love you guys, old Sonny Dykes and everybody down there. But what went wrong was when Georgia dog walked TCU in that championship game. And I think that was the nail in the coffin for a lot of people that said, oh, the Big 12, man, they haven't beat anybody. They haven't done anything. And it became this flyover conference, if you will, that people don't peer over the top into, right? What did my man just say earlier, bro? You said it perfectly. In the words of Macho Man Randy Savage, the cream always rises to the top. And that is exactly what is happening in the Big 12, right? That's what we're getting, is as it filters up to the top, we're getting to see, whoa, look at BYU. You know, look at old gluten-free Texas Tech, because they can't throw no tortillas. You know, we got these teams that have risen up to the top. And just wait till basketball starts, folks. If you haven't ever paid attention to the Big 12, just wait till basketball starts, right, and everybody beats the snot out of everybody.
Yeah. It's a bloodbath. Yeah, and you're talking about the politics, and you look at that, and the thing that just drives me nuts about these folks is that, like you said, when it was the BCS strength of schedule plays in, this don't matter. Well, now they're talking about head-to-head matchups. That head-to-head matchups is what matters, but they use that same argument in two different ways. They'll use the argument for someone, say Notre Dame, but they'll use it against a Big 12 team, for example. So they use the head-to-head thing, and they use it two different ways. And we were looking at Miami and Notre Dame's rankings, and Miami, if I remember correctly, head-to-head did pretty well against Notre Dame, and yet they're ranked below them with the same number of losses. So I'm just like, come on, just come out and say it. Just come out and say it. We want Notre Dame in there. We want Alabama in there. We want Georgia in there. Period. We're going to have those in there no matter what. They can lose 5 games they're getting in because we need that revenue. So so political is just aggravating to watch, and I think that strengthens my idea. And I have said this all along: why not make it like an NFL model? Have your East Coast, West Coast, your divisions, play them out. Whoever wins your division makes the playoffs. You have some wild card teams in there. You play it off, and then you have a college Super Bowl to end. I think that would be awesome. With that rant being finished, I'm going to bring Frank in. Let him get in on the conversation. I know he's chomping at the bit back there, and I guarantee you he knows that girl's softball player's name because he talked about her all the time whenever they brought her over. So I'm going to bet money that Frank can bring up that name as soon as he come on. So Frank, jump on in here. You talk to Shaun just a little bit.
Yeah, her name is I've forgotten. Anna Forgotten is her name, and she's a great player. Yeah. I was going to look it up when you guys were talking about it, and I figured, nah.
Another reason I don't gamble.
Anyway, but when I was hearing you guys talk, Shaun, we had 2 players. We do pre and post games, and we had 2 great players. One a former pro, and Mike Fox played for the Giants, Super Bowl winner, and then with the Panthers, and Tanner Russell, who was another lineman, offensive lineman. Mike was a defensive lineman. And they were talking, it's very simple. We can talk all we want about it, but the thing they said that just stuck in my head was, if you think about the pro model, particularly in football, the best players, the most coveted players go to the worst teams. But in college football, the best players go to the best teams because the best teams have the money to pay them to come there. And so rather than having a competition, you end up having the gap between the haves and the have-nots just grow. And I think that's one of the reasons that's one of the things that explains what Greg was talking about. We're lucky in the Big 12; it's better, it's more competitive. But if you look at the Big 10, hey, there's an ocean difference between Oregon and Purdue, and an ocean difference between Ohio State and Rutgers. And once in a while, you get a bounce-back team like UCLA. But then Indiana brought him back to earth. But it's just crazy. It's tough because and I'll stop with this. We love the game so much, and by our own hand, the people responsible for the game are really screwing it up.
You couldn't have said that better. That is some of the most just sage information that more people need to hear right there. You know, if first I want to thank you because you run the sports column. And for someone like me who literally, like, I've never wanted to write to get rich, nothing. I am literally like an old man that wants to shake his fist at the clouds and complain and have a place to vent. And I appreciate that. And I say that because like a year ago or many months ago, there was something that I had written about this terror that I had, that exactly what is happening, that there would be haves and have-nots, and that at some point that these kids would become employees, and then the cost, of course, to be able to feed this NIL beast would become so much that the average kid would not be able to go to college because they'll be priced out of college, and there'll be less scholarships for other things. And now I hear people using the term non-revenue generating sports, and that we need to get rid of some of these things. And I feel like we have started to turn the crank on this unsustainable model that, while it looks pretty and it's fast and it looks awesome right now, 5 to 7 years from now, I am scared. I am literally scared of what this model looks like, because that whole AFC, NFC model, that would work, but I still feel like in some way the networks and the big money people and the folks that want to have their grubby hands in the middle of it, washing them with cash, won't be able to get the big handful of what they want. I feel like the sport is changing, which is why the West Virginia thing got me so fired up, because that energy, that primal feeling, the lights, that seeing the coal miners and hearing how they spoke and speaking about like, just, my father and my grandfather, and that's tradition. That's the thing that so many of us, I think, are afraid of losing in college sports, and especially college football. And I was giddy drunk off of watching the video, thinking, yeah, it's still real. It's still real,
Yeah.
It is. And the thing about it is, it's not episodic. It's consistent at West Virginia. Mickey and I and others were at the West Virginia TCU game a couple of weeks ago, and the Mountaineers are not having a good season. That was a great bounce back win against Houston, but we went to that game, and I was just blown away. I had just been to another game on another college campus and was just blown away by the quality of the presentation, the number of fans that were there, the electricity and the excitement. And it certainly wasn't a matter of, this team is 8-0, and so let's pack the stadium. It's in the DNA, and that is so critical. In fact, one of the players, former players, Mountaineer former players, who was at the game, was leaving the stadium, and he told me that someone from TCU sweatshirt came up and said, I've been to a lot of games at a lot of places, and I'll tell you, you guys know how to do it the right way, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience because the team, the university, it means so much to the people of West Virginia.
It's awesome. That is so awesome.
It is. Let me get out of here so that Mickey can come in and ask some questions, and then we'll take it from there. Mick, why don't you come in and grill this guy? Ask him some really tough questions.
Did we lose Mickey?
I don't know.
I think he may be frozen. Yeah.
Maybe he's frozen.
Yeah, it looks like he's frozen there. Well,
Yep.
we'll get him. We'll get him back in a second. There's no question about that.
I muted my mic. I got it.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Okay, come on in.
I muted my mic. Hey, I got 2 words to start with here. Najari Kennedy.
Yes.
That's the young lady's name at Texas Tech, Najari Kennedy. And, this NIL has gotten so much out of hand. She got $1 million to go pitch softball for Texas Tech. Just, unbelievable. I've often said on the show here that Ohio State has got the best roster that money can buy. And, LaShawn, I'm really interested in your comments, particularly about the traditions of West Virginia and the meaning, and a lot of, we've said this on the show before, Morgantown, West Virginia University, the major attraction for any sports fan. We don't have any professional baseball teams, football teams, any professional sports. We have our Marshall fans there as well, and tribute, shout out to the Marshall fans as well. But they are so indicative of the spirit of the blue collar mentality of the state. The coal miners, working down underground, making up best of them they can for their family. And that whole image is what Rich Rod brings back to the table, I think, as he makes his return. The work ethic of West Virginians throughout the entire state. It's about 1.8 million people in the state. And I can guarantee you 1.6 million of them have their radios or their TVs tuned in every time the Mountaineers play. So here's my question, LaShawn. I lived in Atlanta for about 30 years, just recently relocated back to West Virginia. So I'm very aware of the efforts being put forth by the SEC and the Big Ten to control everything going forward in the future as far as NCAA efforts go in controlling the future of college football. So, and in those two conferences, you've got major air advertising markets, you got major cities, you got big bucks, you got, donors out to kazoo. So, you've got that situation. And to your point about, the Big 12 getting some love, Big 12 doesn't have that as much. Maybe we had a little bit of it when Oklahoma and Texas were in the conference, but now, like rats leaving a sinking ship, they're off to the SEC. So, you've got an environment there where you had the tradition of college football in places like West Virginia and Oklahoma State and Texas Tech and Baylor and BYU and Utah. And how do you fight against that one scenario, maintaining, preserving the tradition of football as it was when I played back in the 60s? You played for your state. You played for the people in the state. And you stack that up against, the money that's out there, that's represented by these two other conferences in particular. How do you win that battle? I think, to me, that is a question that we got to find an answer to.
That is a wonderful question. If I can take about 45 seconds and say this in relation to that. Again, if you're in sound of my voice, and if you were near the state of Texas, are they in Texas? Where are they playing? Texas Tech and BYU game day. Are they in Texas? Is it,
no,
or are they going up?
Texas Tech, they're coming to Morgantown.
It's coming to Morgantown? Okay, perfect. I couldn't remember. Folks,
yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, we go to, after Colorado, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say where game day is, everybody needs to show up. There need to be Big 12 signs out the wazoo. Anybody, if they haven't settled the dispute, ESPN and YouTube TV and all of that, if you can see it, if you can watch it, I'm sorry, but everybody has to be behind. I don't care if you like the teams, if you don't like the teams. That is going to be one of the first rah-rah moments for the Big 12 to make some noise, be big, be loud, be crazy. How do you win? Greg Sankey and is it Petiti? Is that how you say his last name from the Big Ten? Petiti want nothing more. They want nothing more than to show up and rope in the Big 12, pick teams that they want, and send everybody else back out along with the ACC and say, figure it out. We all know that. At the end of the day, they want the biggest piece of the pie, and they want you to go play the figure it out game. As a matter of fact, if I recall, the Big Ten and the SEC were having talks about having their own playoff together and telling everybody else to figure it out. As far as how do you preserve, how do you conserve, what needs to happen is that people have to buy in. I think that I have played on a losing football team before. What West Virginia just experienced, beating Houston, after, was it 4 losses in a row for West Virginia? Coming back, hitting somebody in the mouth with a quarterback that legitimately shouldn't be able to do anything, with a team that, on paper, for everybody that jumps ship, shouldn't be able to do anything. But with Zach Alley, with Rich Rod, with all these different people who are like, look, I believe in you. I'm buying in. Let's just throw everything at this thing. That's what it's going to take, is it's going to take a fan base. Fan bases being as electric as West Virginia, where there was literally a main line from the stands directly back to those players where they are feeding off of that energy. That's what's going to have to come back to the Big 12 in all facets. Baylor especially Houston fans have to buy back in, make noise, and be loud, because so long as people are just kind of bleh about the product, it's going to be real easy for people to continue to have this bleh mentality and buy in. Because I'm sorry, again, Greg Sankey is not doing you guys any favors. He is literally, as a matter of fact, didn't he try to take you guys down to like one bid in the playoff? Like, wasn't that a suggestion? He was like, oh, let them eat cake. They can have one. So no, I mean, this is an uphill psychotic battle, and it's all about not getting starved out. But I think it starts in our backyards. I've told people I'm going to an Oklahoma State game this year. I am already aware these guys are going to lose, but I'm going just because people need to make some noise. Heck, I might take my shirt off and swing it over my head. But I'm like, people need to make noise. They got to show up. And I think that's the first step. That's the first step in repairing. I can't even say repairing because the image isn't bad, but in overcoming a very frustrating agenda, if you will, that I think has been laid out for the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we definitely have our work cut out for us.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gave me a great idea for the for NIL, Mickey. I one time was in a bar and took my shirt off, and they paid me $150 to put it back on. So it might be a way to raise some NIL money there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, there was no NIL available for beer pong when I was in college, so I might be one of those rich guys. But yeah, Shaun, I think you're right with the enthusiasm. There's got to be enthusiasm from within if there's going to be enthusiasm on the outside. And I was very disappointed in Houston's crowd. I don't know what's going on there. They've got to do something to get it going again. And for Rich. Lucky for Rich, I think, like Mickey said, we don't have any pro teams or anything here to root for. So that's our team, that's our pro team. And people turn out, even in the worst of seasons, they turn out and they support. And I think you're right. We got to have that across the board. What do you see? This model, what's going on right now, it just can't be sustainable. I mean, it just can't keep going like this. What do you think is going to happen over the next 3, 4, 5 years? With the, and I think we're all in agreement that these kids deserve to be paid for what they're doing, what they're putting their bodies through, the time they're putting into it, and everybody else is getting rich off of them. They deserve to be paid, no question about it. But what do you see? We've had finance guys on here talking about it, and other folks, pro players, about the money and the kids getting all this money. How are they handling it and that sort of thing? But to me, it just seems like it's not sustainable. And we had an example here where one of the donors apparently was pulling his donations because he didn't feel like the players he was funding were performing like they should, and he wanted to get rid of them, bring some new ones in. And they told him no, and he pulled his money apparently. But that model can't continue. I mean, that's going to happen. That's not just going to happen here; it's going to happen everywhere. I mean, if I'm putting up $2 million for a quarterback and he goes out there and he can't do anything, I want to be like, wait a minute, I don't want to keep putting this $1 million in this pot every year for this guy, So where do you see all this heading in the next 3, 4, 5 years? There's got to be a cap somewhere.
I'm going to give two answers. My first answer is to what you just said about wanting to pull the money, right? It appears that this is the year of fire your coach immediately if things don't go well. I was worried for Rich Rod. I believed that everybody would be patient, but in watching everybody get fired, I was like, looks like they're going to be patient. I'm glad. That's great. It's the right thing to do. I want to bring up something called the collectives. A lot of you guys, especially if you're big into college football, you've heard about the collective. Every school has one. You can set it up where you can take $50, let's say, out of your paycheck, to go directly to the school to help with NIL. It's interesting because that same thought process, right, of as Joe Everyman, where eggs are expensive, gas is high, food prices are going up, that $50, well, you want to see a return on your investment, and now you feel like, oh, well, I'm paying, so I want to see a good product. And then that symphony of voices gets a little bit easier about fire the coach and fire the OC, the DC. I think it's really interesting how instantaneous and how much control people think that they have now that there's so much money involved. However, to answer your original question, where does this go? 5 to 7 years from now, honest to goodness, I think we're going to have schools that are mortgaging themselves, by which I mean I think schools are going to like literally almost take out a mortgage against themselves so that they have more money, so that they can continue to powerfully compete, so that they can continue to do upgrades and do whatever it is that they have to do to be able to continue to get these networks to keep on spending money, sending money. Because, hey, you got to spend money to make money, right? I think we're going to get to a point. Guys, there are G League guys that are going to be playing basketball in college basketball this year. My brain caught on fire, okay? When I heard that, I was like, there is no way that Arkansas is putting in a guy from the G League, but here we are. So with that said, there's going to come a point in time where you're not going to have to be enrolled in the school to be employed by the school. You're just going to have to be able to be able-bodied and play football, which means some guy from the UFL or some guy from the CFL is going to come down and he's going to be playing college football with your kids. I think that this model has to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the ball is going to keep rolling. It's going to be a semi-professional model at some point with a ton of money, with a CBA, and we're going to see these players that are being paid, and it's going to be set up like an NFL model, but it's going to be a sloppy NFL model, I think, until somebody comes and buys it up later down the line. I think that we're headed to a rough spot, and my fear is the same as it has always been, a loss of tradition, a price out for the average kid who's going to be the first in his or her family to go to college, and a huge change in the college experience so that we can continue to feed the beast that is college football and athletics. And look, I love it. I'm all about it, but I'm worried that we're losing sight of what college football was, of what the traditions were of where we started. And I feel this is very somber, and I don't mean it that way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we all see, we've seen the changes in our lifetimes. It's just not the same now as it was. And I think that's going to continue on. You mentioned some of those coaches being fired. You look at the money that those guys are getting paid to not coach. And Frank had an interesting graphic there on it. And I don't know if, Frank, I don't know if you sent that to Darren or not, but very interesting graphic on the amount of money on these buyouts that these fired coaches are getting. And there it is. I don't know if Darren can make that a little bit bigger or not, but y'all may be able to see it. But unbelievable amounts of money going to these coaches. So when you see that, a lot of people's first response is, well, if you can afford to do that, you can afford to, pay this kid or pay. There's no problems with the money. So I want to get your take on, these couple of these coaches that got fired. I'm not big fans of either one at Penn State or LSU, but I don't think it was fair that either one of them got fired when you look at their records and their resumes and what they've done. And I'm just like, what do these people want? And to your point, we want a return on our investment, and that means championships. And these guys didn't do anything but win for the most part, and they get fired. But again, I don't feel terribly sorry for them. I mean, if they want to, I'd be like Ed Ogeron. You want to fire me? Give me $17 million. Tell me which door you want me to walk out of. I'll be out there in 5 minutes. Give me a check and I'm gone. But the amount of money that these guys are getting for not coaching, it makes people on the outside look at it and say, you know what? They got plenty of money. If they can do that, they can afford this NIL. It's no big deal, because I'm afraid people will kind of get like a complacent. I don't know if complacent's the right word or not, but kind of get the attitude that there's an endless supply.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If I could jump in here, guys, probably couldn't see that graphic. I've got it right here in front of me. From 2012 to 2024, the total amount of what's called dead money, that is the money that universities, and most of them are public, owe coaches who have been fired before their contract ended up. totaled almost $1 billion. That's with a B. 852 million, $852 million over the 12 years, and that does not cover this year. Shaun, here's what I think needs to happen. You got no leadership because the Big Ten and the SEC does not want leadership from the NCAA executive director. The attempt to try to get Congress to regulate major college sports has failed, and with all the issues that are going on in this country, that's a dead road. What I think you have to have, having been in the industry for almost 50 years, 40 years definitely, is what happens sometimes in other fields. You got to get some retired folks who have a great reputation. And I say it's a combination of chancellors, presidents, and coaches, like a Nick Saban. To get those people come together who are dedicated for what's good of the game, to come together and basically say, this is out of control. We're going to put together a plan for being able to, because the problem we have now, it's chaos. It's absolute, the Wild West, that they can then put together and present, and then basically, literally through their reputation, try to steer this ship in the right direction. It's not going to come from the NCAA. It's not going to come from the conferences. And I can tell you, having been a university administrator, it can't come from the ADs. They're running 100 miles an hour, just tending to everyday business. You got to have people with a great reputation who basically understand it inside and out, have credibility, and for the good of the game, put something in place. Regionalize it, whatever it might be. It's not for the lack of good ideas. There are a lot of good ideas out there. The problem is we can never get it anywhere close to even getting some realistic attention, because this thing is, Greg's right, it's completely unsustainable. And my feeling too is you got to find a way to get the fans to shut their mouths about the only thing that matters is winning. Because I'll tell you, it is an absolute crime that mostly public institutions of higher education owe $1 billion to former coaches. And you knew what was going to happen when they fired the Penn State coach. It just opened the door for these copycats to fire everybody. And that's not leadership. Cutting things, that's not leadership. Building things is leadership. So I just hope that someone like a Nick Saban, high-flying university chancellors and presidents will come together and bail the two sports out, basketball and football, and end the stranglehold from the media. They have a role to play, but right now these are puppets on a string, and the media are basically in charge. That's essentially what it is. Other than what I just said, I don't see a snowball's chance in hell of any other approach being taken other than more money, which is going to lead, I think, Shaun, to what you were talking about. Schools are either going to have to be able to get that money, they're going to have to drop down from Division I, or they're going to have to mortgage themselves.
100%. And I hate to do what I'm about to do. I want to take my finger and I want to poke one hole into what you said. As I listened to it, it sounds perfect. And I was like, oh, this sounds too good to be true. Because there is one thing, greed, the evil greed that got us here. My concern is a lot of these kids, their NIL, their agents for the kids are the same agents for the coaches. So the unfortunate part is that they already know, just like with Congress, we can sue the snot out of you to hang this up for as long as we possibly can so that we could drag this out. And again, I feel bad. I don't know why you guys bring me on here so I say these things. I feel bad because you have a great idea, but then I'm sitting here and I'm like, but it makes perfect sense.
No, you're absolutely correct. What bothers me is that this greed, and again, I'm an apologist. I spent my career in higher education, It shouldn't be this way. This is a social institution. It's not a business. Higher education is a social institution. It's supposed to produce the next generation of leaders and professionals in society. But what's happened now is I've seen it. It's just the money, the smell of money. It's an addiction, and the problem is, like any addiction, enough is never enough. You need more. You need more. And you need more. And then you surround yourself with people who can get you more money, and they surround themselves with people who will get you more money. And it never works. It just never works. Eventually, it just collapses. And, the pros they got to be laughing at college sports because they've got a system, a way of doing things, and they don't end up into the mess that we have right now. Like I said, the best players go to the weakest teams because parity is valued. Right now, all that's valued is winning and winning a championship. And that's, again, we go back to West Virginia. To see those fans in the stadium, even when their team does not have a stellar record, that's what college football should be all about.
It's all about.
Yep. And I'm telling you, I needed to see that this week. Like seeing that on YouTube. Again, I love my horns, but that was just so. It isn't every day that you get to hear the passion. And right, I live here in Oklahoma where we have like Pitcher and like that mining district up there. But to know that like families, like generations of families are built on this, and that these fans in West Virginia take this so seriously. Like, again, I wish that was played in more places. I wish that was something that would pop up on game day this weekend. Because that's what we need. Like we need more of those stories. We need more of these schools where we're like, wow, like, packed stadiums, that tradition is so robust, because that is what I think so many of us are getting jaded on. Like you said, us as fans, right? We, the fan, are so this unrealistic expectation of every year, I want to have a championship every single year. No, there's no rebuild. Like, again, and I'm sorry I keep picking on poor Rich Rod and what they're doing out there, but it's perfect, right? Like, that's a true rebuild, right? Again, that Houston game, that is the definition of like, yo, I am giving you the best rah-rah speech I can in the locker room. Yes, it's rough. Yes, we have to make it through this, but if you believe, who was that? Deion Sanders, right? Things are rough for them. But I remember him saying to people, do you believe? That opportunity where you get to talk to those kids and say, do you believe? And they come out and hit Houston in the mouth. Again, man, Scotty Fox with his little Scooby-Doo legs, man, he's just running all over the field. Like, that is amazing. That's what it's all about.
I'm with you. Hey, that's it. I'm excited.
I don't know, man. I feel like I said a lot of bad. I don't know. I feel like I brought like the dark cloud,
Not at all, buddy. Not at all. Not at all. Guys, we need to talk about Colorado coming up. Shaun, do you want to stay with us as we talk about the Buffaloes?
Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't mind, man. It's a rough place over there.
Yeah. That brings up a point, too. It goes back to what you guys were talking about. I'm of the opinion that it really works better for conferences if more teams are having good years. It just gets people excited. And, CU is having a heck of a year on the downside. Iowa State has now, they've fallen off. KU has fallen off. K-State got off to a bad start, and they're sort of stumbling around. It's BYU. Baylor hasn't been consistent. TCU is not living up to expectations. Arizona State, the quarterback is out. Arizona, iffy. That's the thing I think is concerning with the Big 12 is that there are a whole lot of teams that, we thought Arizona State would repeat. But Cincinnati is having a great year. Cincinnati, Texas Tech. Houston was having a good year until last week. But you want those teams strong, and it's been a little bit iffier than normal, I think, this year.
I didn't know if you were talking to me or somebody else.
I'm talking to everybody.
Hey, I agree with you though, absolutely. And this goes back to how you were talking about parity and that parity that's up there, that's at the top. And I think, I feel like I'm poo-pooing on the conference that my team that I enjoy so much is in. But I think that that's part of the problem right now. I think that we're all enjoying looking at the Cadillacs in the SEC. We're all enjoying, like the Cadillacs in the Big Ten up at the top. And I think that the amount of parity that exists in the Big 12 is almost being overlooked and overshadowed because we're enjoying, again, the names on the side of the helmets, right? Because that's what we're trained right now, that's what matters. And again, there's these battles going on in the Big 12. Like there are these like knife fight in the phone booth, man, human rubble on the field. And somehow it's getting passed over. It's a little weird.
That's right. You're absolutely correct. When you think of there's Greg coming back. Greg, I'm looking at my screen and Greg has dropped out, unfortunately. But when you think about the ACC and Clemson is not having a good year, was a Cadillac and is not. Florida State, there's Greg, he's back. Florida State, Florida. It's what's interesting too about this. It's not interesting. Even with all the emphasis on money, the number of teams that are truly competitive, it doesn't, even the marquee names. UCLA is struggling, obviously. USC, you really can't trust them. Anyway, but we need to talk about Colorado. I see it's the top of the hour. Greg, let's shift into talking about the Buffaloes against the Mountaineers.
Yep. Sorry about that. We got a bad winds here and knocked my internet out for a few minutes, but it's back now. So hear any thumping? I have this walnut tree right outside my house, and when the wind blows hard, those walnuts fall off that tree and hit on top of my house. So it's like somebody trying to break in. So if you hear that, you'll know Jody's not hitting me with a club or anything. You'll know it's the walnut. Anyway, yeah, we mentioned Colorado. Colorado's not obviously. I don't think they're quite as talented as they were last year, but I still think they're a pretty good team. They're big and they're pretty athletic. I know Rich Rod talked about the size of their offensive line, which is a little bit worrisome for us because our defensive line has been pushed around a little bit. But if we, I think, continue to play like we played Saturday, which is always a big if, it seems like with this team, then I think we'll be fine. But I think it's a very winnable game.
Mm-hmm. Agree 100% with you. Mickey, I'm sure you looked at the stats. I looked at total defense and total offense compiled by the NCAA of 134 teams. Colorado is ranked 104th on total defense, and it's ranked 107th on total offense. It's ranked 110th in third down defense. And it's, those are numbers that, Coach Prime has just got to be shaking his head. I understand that the person who was calling their offensive plays just today, I think he was pulled off that assignment. This is a shocking devolution of a team that people around the country were really following, primarily because of Coach Prime. Mickey stuck there?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Yep.
There it is.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I looked at the stats on West Virginia and Colorado, guys, it's pretty much what they call a pick 'em. It could go either way. West Virginia has been averaging 23.2 points per game, and Colorado's been West Virginia's been averaging 23.2 points per game. Colorado's been averaging 22 points a game. Defensively, we've given up 30.4 points a game. Colorado's given up 30.1. We're about even on turnovers. We've given up 12 so far this year, and Colorado's given up 14. Now, from a forced turnover perspective, we've forced twice as many turnovers as Colorado has. We've forced 16 so far this year. They've only forced 8. So when I started looking at this thing, Frank, I'm putting more emphasis on the trend that I see here on the last 2 ball games. Colorado has given up 105 points in the past 2 games to Arizona and to Utah, and so they've been outscored like 105 to 24. And Utah, I mean, they really put it on them last weekend. And here's the interesting thing: reminds me of the 1969 Peach Bowl game in which we ran the ball 67 times and threw it twice. In that Utah-Colorado game, Utah only threw the ball 11 times. And the rest of the time was running plays. They put up 422 yards on the ground against Colorado, and the Buffaloes have been averaging, giving up about 210 yards rushing per game. So that offensive line that you were speaking of, those guys are big, but I think it's a toss-up between their offensive line and our offensive line. Those guys in the last 2 games, Colorado's offensive line, they gave up 10 sacks and they gave up 21 tackles for losses. So they're definitely, I think we can stop them defensively. I think there are really 3 keys to the game. If you look at the evenness of the stats and the trend of the last couple of games, number one, we got to run the ball. There's no question about that. If we can run the ball and be successful, if we can put up 200-300 yards on the ground, I think that's our easiest road to victory, and I think that's how we keep them off the field and control the game. As I mentioned, their offensive line, they're big and they're pretty good, but they haven't handled the blitzes very, very well. So I think the second key is we're going to have to come up with a good defensive scheme, throw a lot of blitzes at them, and that'll lead us to victory as well. And the third thing, I think we'd just got to turn the keys of the car over to Scotty and say, here, open up the offense a little bit. You've proven yourself under pressure. And let's try a few more things than we've done in the past. So, if you look at the stats, pretty evenly matched teams. But you look at the trend the last couple, we played tough against TCU, losing by 6 points, and then a 10-point win last week, while they've lost by a total of almost 90 points in the last 2 games. So I think they're trending in the wrong direction. We're trending in the right one.
Really, really solid, Mickey. Yep. And everything I've looked at just reinforces everything you're talking about. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Mickey on all those points. And I think, when you talk about keys to the game, I think, every game is going to have, certain keys to the game. Don't turn the ball over, protect your quarterback, run the football, special teams play. All those things are always keys to the game. But I think a couple of the keys here, number one is it's a home game for the Mountaineers, and we've been playing much better the last couple of games. It's a road game for Colorado, and they've been playing much worse. So I think that's the keys to the game. I think that we're playing better than they are, and I think that's going to be the difference. We're playing at home. We've been playing better. We're like Mickey said, trending in the right direction. They're trending in the wrong direction, and I think that's a big key.
Well stated again. And there's the enthusiasm that comes from the things that you're talking about is palpable. I mean, it is. People are excited, even though the season hasn't been what we had hoped. That the way we played against TCU and then followed up with that win in Houston really makes a big difference. What are you hearing, Shaun, if anything, in Oklahoma City area about Prime and Colorado? He's a topic of conversation literally everywhere around the country, but I have no clue what you're hearing down in Oklahoma. Anything?
As far as hearing about him, absolutely not. Nobody is even, I have not heard any pundits or any of the folks that work in radio, folks that I know around here talking about, they barely talk about anything Big 12 related, but barely talk about anything with him at all. So no. But if I can real quick, because you guys are so professional, you guys are talking like keys to the game and all that. I got something real quick with Colorado, and it sure ain't that darn professional, man. You guys are great. You guys are the cream of the crop when it comes to this kind of thing. And then there's like podcasters and radio guys like me down here. Guys, I watched some videos leading up to this. I watched some YouTube. I have been really studying for about 3 days straight of Colorado this season. Couple of quick things. This is keys in Shaun's mind. He's lost that locker room. You ain't going to tell me that he has not. Those guys are not playing for each other. Those guys are showing up because I think they have to at this point. Not all of them, but there's a pretty good bunch of them. Also, there's got to be something going on with the culture. Why am I saying that? There has to be some kind of a power vacuum after like Shador and them left. I don't know. Why am I saying that? Body language. Watch their body language out there with Colorado. Again, I have played football. It is nothing to like slap your brother on the head, be like, hey, it's cool. Hey, we'll get him next time. Hey, you missed that play. These guys jaw and argue at each other like people would normally talk to each other on other teams. Something has gone wrong with the culture at Colorado. And I don't think it's going to be fixed before the end of the season, but I've seen Colorado players push each other this year. So something is wrong. And guys, this is going to sound terrible. Scotty Fox is going to have the time of his life in this game. This is going to be his practice game. I say this because we have seen what Colorado has put on the field. We have seen their pass defense. We have seen, guys, they are soft as a colander up front. There is no way that they're not going to be able to. Scotty is going to be able to build his confidence. He's going to be able to get some air up underneath that ball. And again, he's going to be able to use his legs. Yes, those guys are big, but they just aren't. I don't know, man. Something just ain't right on that defensive line for Colorado. They just don't have it all together. So I think Scotty's really going to grow up in this game. I think it's going to be great for West Virginia and for Colorado. There's always next year. But I will say this. This is what happens when you try to build a team year after year out of the transfer portal versus how we've watched teams for years come together and everybody grows up together and they learn together and they play for each other versus, hi, I just met you like 2 months ago. I guess we're going to play a football game.
Very well stated. And you're absolutely correct. I don't want to hang this on one person, but a lot of us who watch football, we know the name Caden Salter because we watched him play at Liberty at quarterback, and he was the juice that made that team as good as it was. And when he transferred to Colorado, we thought, here we go. And he doesn't have much of a running game. There's a good receiver, Omarion Miller. Really, he's going to play in the pros, I think, but they just don't have the horses. You're absolutely correct, and you can see exactly what you're talking about if you watch that sideline. It's really sad to see because Colorado became a national team when Prime left Jackson State to go there.
Well, Frank, and John, Mickey too, you think about this, you think about Prime and all he's done and that sort of thing. I got a son that's 22 years old, couldn't tell you anything about Deion Sanders other than he wears gold chains and he limps. And these young kids, they don't know, that aura is not there for these young kids. And, with the Shador and Hunter, those guys, gone now and all the attention they got, there may be some, I don't know if this would be the problem or not, but maybe some connection problem there because of all that hoopla surrounding them, and they got all this attention. Now that they're gone, we're not getting any attention. Why not? What happened to this? This prime time show. So I just wonder if these young kids, they don't really know who Deion Sanders is, and I don't know how much of an impact it has on people's decisions to go there now. But yeah. there's something to be said about that the culture and bringing people together and that sort of thing. And you don't really seem interested in that. He's he played pro football. I think he has that pro football mindset that these are grown men and they're going to come to work and do what they're supposed to do, and you're not going to have to get on them and stay after them and that sort of thing. And that's not happening. And it's no knock on it. It's just the way he is. And I think a lot of the flash has worn off, if you will. And so yeah, I think he's in for a real struggle. And it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to keep coaching that he don't jump ship for long and head somewhere else.
Boy, really good analysis. Time for the scores, and you got to do this too. Now you got to participate.
That's right, Shaun.
You got to pick the score too. Who wants to go first?
Hey, Shaun, if you win too, my truck hadn't got here yet, but there's a truck full of prizes that come by and drop them off in your front yard. And
nice.
Yeah. I got a old refrigerator, and I think it's part of a sink out there now, is what I got. But anyway, I guess, Frank, is it your turn to go first or my turn to go first? I think Mickey went first last time.
Whatever you want to do.
Well, I'll go ahead. I'm fine with it. I think I'm going to pick the Mountaineers, and I think the Mountaineers are going to win handily. I think it's going to be 38-21, Mountaineers.
Very good. And Greg is ahead in the year-long struggle, we call it that. 3 for Mickey and 2 for me. And I only got one game, but I doubled up. It counted 2. So
I was going to say, that sounded like an awful lot of games. I didn't think they played that many games yet.
Yeah, you're ahead 4-3-2. Anyway, Mickey, go ahead.
Hey, I got the Mountaineers winning this week. I think we're going to double up on the Buffaloes. I got Mountaineers 35 and the Buffaloes 17.
Boy, oh boy. Very good.
See, Shaun, what Mickey does all the time, have you ever seen The Price is Right? He always bids me right below me every time. He does that, hoping I'll go over. He puts the Bob Barker move on me. That shows my age. It's not Bob Barker anymore, is it? I don't even know who it is now, but
yeah, exactly. Well, I actually wrote this down a long time ago. You can't see it. But when I was preparing, I've got 33-21. We're all in the same neighborhood. 33-21, West Virginia. And I'll tell you what, I think Shaun has something going. And if Scotty gets going in the defense, it hangs in there. They could more than double the score. That's really optimistic, obviously. But Colorado is really struggling. Shaun, your thoughts?
I'm telling you, I know that we're going to see a breakout game, that we're going to see Fox is really going to show us that this is his team. I am already proud of them, as they're going to win 45-13 in what's going to be a breakout game. I think that they are going to, yep, absolutely. I think they're going straight to the woodshed with it. And here's why. I've noticed this trend in every game. As soon as the other team gets up by about 21, 24 points, Colorado, their DBs, a lot of their guys, they stop trying. That's why they get burned. So I'm anticipating once they get about 3 scores, that'll happen by about halftime. It is going to be hammer down, and West Virginia is going to get them. But yeah, I'm locking it in 45-13. West Virginia is taking it over.
All right.
Wow.
I like it. And we do have a prize this week, a real prize. It's lunch with Brian Kelly, and it's a jambalayas in Baton Rouge. But since he's out of a job now, the winner has to pay for lunch. But you get a chance. You get a chance to eat crawfish with Coach Kelly.
And that's down there where his family is at. Isn't that what he said? That's my family is happy to be here.
Just about to say it. Yep. That accent.
Yeah, put on his fake
It's
accent.
gone all of a sudden, by the way. He lost that accent. I don't know where it went.
When I saw that, I thought, ain't no way he's going to make it there.
No.
Trying to fake that accent.
You think they bring Ed Oregon back, by the way? You think there's any chance of that?
He said he was interested, but
I don't know. After what
that's an interesting question. I'd love to see him come back. I thought he was quite the character out there
Oh, I
on
love him.
and off the field.
Yeah.
I love the guy. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm a constitutional lawyer, and I think the 25th Amendment of the state of Louisiana Constitution says you can't succeed yourself.
No
So I don't
redos, huh?
know, except in the case of Nick Saban, then you can
Ah.
succeed yourself.
Yeah.
And from what I hear too, Frank, the cheerleader coach down there said no. They don't want him back.
Oh, yeah.
Shouldn't have went there, should
No, it's all right. The stories. That's yeah, Les Miles when you think about that, and never made it to KU, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean it's crazy. So that's great. Oh man, we're having so much fun.
Oh gosh.
I just looked at the clock. It's 10:30. What the hell happened? Anyway,
No, all joking aside, this was a fast hour, was it not?
oh,
and
very good.
and I
Shaun,
know,
oh man, go ahead.
yeah, we need to definitely go ahead and get him, get Shaun scheduled back anytime he's open. We'd love to have him. I don't care
We
if
want
it's
you.
every week. We'll take him.
There you go.
You really want to put up with all this yelling every week? Like, really?
Yeah, and let me say this to spill the beans. People who may not be familiar with Shaun, he's really big time. He underestimates, or he just very, very mild mannered. But you have a ton of listeners from Iraq, servicemen who are listening to your radio show from all over the world. And I think you got something like 10,000 Facebook followers. And so, you grace us with your presence because, I mean, I think with Mickey and Greg and myself, I think we have 8, and that includes us, followers on each of our pages. So, yeah, you're big, man. You're big.
I am not. But if I can just say, I am so humbled that so many people from overseas listen. I cannot imagine what it is like. The most service job I've ever had is I was a volunteer firefighter. I can't imagine being gone for months at a time. So if I feel like if we give them a little piece of home, man, I'm doing something like some kind of service. So such a blessing. And thank you for those kind words. You are absolutely far too kind. I tell you all the time, for a guy that just comes on and screams sports, I don't know how this works, but I appreciate that you tolerate it.
Yeah. And let me also shout out, Shaun writes for the sports column. Just Google the sports column and you'll find Shaun's always thoughtful, provocative, no shouting, but very thoughtful, measured essays, and always pleased when I see there's a article from Shaun. So I think we need to make the pivot to say goodnight and talk about this weekend and then our guest next Wednesday. Huh?
I'm going to head out. I got to go. Sorry, guys. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Shaun.
Appreciate it. See ya.
Very
Thanks
good.
a lot, Shaun.
So, Darren, if you could put up the pregame show graphic, we'll talk about that. Then the postgame, and then the guest for next week. There's the pregame show, and kickoff is at 12, and so it'll be the same as last week. We're on 90 minutes before 10:30 to 11:30. I'll be on the road, so I won't be there. So, folks who watch this show on the Voice of College Football are very familiar with Shane Stadtmiller from Western Pennsylvania, and Shane and Greg will be with you at 10:30. And then after the show, the post-game show, 30 minutes after the final gun goes off, and Greg will be back with Shane. I want to thank you, Shane, for doing this because I'm not going to be in a position to do it. So thank you.
Yep. Frank, apologize again for him having these internet issues tonight with the wind blowing on me, keeps cutting me off. To get a chance to say bye to Shaun, but that was great. Listening to him, he's so full of energy, and I encourage people to watch that, listen to that podcast prior to the snap. He does a great job, and it's very energetic, entertaining, just like he is, and it's like that every time you listen. He doesn't lose that fire, that's for sure. So you need to get out there and listen to it.
Very positive spirit. And then next week, we have a guy that may not be familiar to, I would say, the vast majority. But Mark Parsons always lines up great guests. Tom Madeira didn't play ball at West Virginia. He played and then was an assistant coach at that D3 Power, the University of Mount Union. It was a Mount Union college back in the day when Tom was there. But he was a grad assistant. Hey, Greg, this is a big time thing for you because he was a grad assistant on the team that when WVU played in the Sun Bowl. So you get a chance to ask him more about that play with Major Harris.
That's
This
right.
is
Maybe you get your
this is
answer, Greg.
this is
Got to
big.
get it from somebody. Another chance.
So, and Tom is a Hall of Fame high school coach. He also was a coach at the Naval Academy after WVU and is a Hall of Fame coach in South Jersey, like 25 years. Just one of those guys that when they ask the players, did you play for Tom? They'll just talk to you for about a half an hour.
Yeah.
Just a very thoughtful guy, and we're looking forward to having Tom with us next Wednesday. And thank Mark Parsons for setting that up for us.
Yep. That'll be a lot of fun. So, all right. With that being said, guys, great show tonight. Thanks to Shaun Pryor and again his podcast Prior to the Snap. Appreciate Darren his backroom work. Appreciate you watching on the New River Network and Voice of College Football. Mickey, thank you. Frank, thank you. With all that being said, we want to wish you a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you Saturday prior to the game. So we'll have you on the pregame show Saturday morning, 10:30. Look forward to talking to you then. Good night, everybody.